internally, we also support women as well. I think Sharon spoke about CapEx spend. Our total spend of women business is currently 17%. It's not really where I want it to be. I think I've challenged myself to say we need to get this to 50%, or at least it must match the population dynamics, which is about 52%. So we very engaged. We would like to see this. And I mean, when MTN came and said we wanted to do this, DFC was a natural partner in something that we strongly believe in, and it's a progression of moving women from just doing the normal things that we know them to do. Either you're working in the fields in the rural areas, or you're working in some shop somewhere, and just moving into the tech space. We need more women in technology, and this is a great initiative. So we're quite excited that we can actually do this and get it done. I mean, Sylvia, I'll tell you, I mean, in Kenya, it was done successfully. I was one of the panel of the mentors for that group of women. I still mentor them up to now. And it's very successful. And when you see the examples of what this can do, it's amazing. And I believe that we can do amazing things here. I mean, I see this as the beginning of a great journey, the beginning of, not even a journey, it's a revolution. So this is a revolution in the tech space. And I want to say thank you, MTN, and all the partners who have made this possible, because we are starting a revolution and changing Uganda.
Say amen to that. Thank you very much, Mr. Mudiwa. That was a very, very detailed explanation. We thank you very much. From the UN Women, Ms. Adekimi, why women in tech? Why did you think that you need to rally behind? Is it because our CEO called you and you fear her little? That she might turn off one of the masts somewhere near your office? Or there's something else?
Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting us to this very important event. To UN Women, empowering women is our DNA, period. And so that means whatsoever we do needs to have that in mind. Now, when you look at, there's an annual gathering of global development actors in March, where we talk about women's rights issues at the United Nations. This year, the focus was on the digital space and the digital divide and how to make sure that we are able to empower women. On that 8th of March, the head of the UN, the Secretary General, talked about losing focus, that we are losing focus. Why is he saying we are losing focus? There was a report that was put out by UN Women. If we continue along this trajectory over the next few years, can you guess how many years it would take for us to have gender equality in the economic space? Just guess, a wild guess. No, it will be 300 years. Who's going to be here in 300 years? So what we want to do is to bridge that gap. And one way to do that, if there was ever a silver bullet, it is women's economic empowerment. So we want to leverage on that so-called silver bullet or that magic bullet to ensure that this affects every other area, all other areas of national development. Because women's economic empowerment has impact on education, it has impact on children's education, it has impact on economic growth, it has impact on access to health, it impacts on everything. When you look at the strategic development goals of that we are all partners to, there is one goal called SDG 5, and that's about gender equality and the empowerment of women. This is the only goal that has both targets and indicators across all 17 goals of the SDGs. So this is central to the achievement of SDGs. If we are not achieving women's economic empowerment, we cannot achieve goal 1, goal 7, goal 10, whatever, that is even 17 on partnerships. So this is really the central focus of all that we should be doing. If we really want to make a change and don't want to achieve gender equality in 300 years, we need to get serious and start working on this. And so when we see such partners like MTN investing seriously and concretely in concrete initiatives to empower women. We throw our weight behind them, and we're here for the long haul.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Madam Semanda, okay, you are in tech, eh? But the things are not easy. It's not pretty straightforward, is it?
No, it's not. Can you hear me?
And yet you still are coming out to rally behind this cause.
Yes.
Tell us why.
Thank you very much. It gives me a very, very great pleasure to be here representing ATC Uganda. The reason advancing women entrepreneurs is important for me as a woman, but also important for ATC here in Uganda, is because over the last 10, 12 years, where we have been executing engineering projects, we have seen a glaring gap that speaks into the lack of women-led businesses in engineering projects. This gap is as wide as can be. The difference is literally night and day. Where we have a lot of projects executed by men-led businesses, maybe 1 in 10, only 1 in 10 will be done by women. So, first and foremost, we resonate with the vision that MTN Uganda, through the CEO Sylvia, has for this. We buy into this vision 110% because we see the need, we see it, we live it every day, and us coming on board is us saying that in great affirmation that we would like to partner with MTN. But this is beyond Sylvia's vision. It is beyond MTN Uganda. By us taking on this project, we create a new tribe of women entrepreneurs. We create a new tribe of women that can change Uganda. We can actually grow Uganda's GDP in many ways by doing this. Because when you invest in a woman, you invest in children. When you invest in a woman, you invest in the education of this country. I'll not talk about investing in men because I can only talk about what I know, which is investing in women. Personally, I'm raised by a single mother. And if I go across the room, you'll notice that many of those stories go beyond this room. They actually go to a personal level. That when you take care of the financial capability of a woman, you raise children, you raise new nations, you raise a new breed of people that can change not just MTN, not just ATC, but can change our country and can change Africa. So at ATC Uganda, we resonate with this vision. We believe that we can play a significant role in supporting the growth of women in the engineering field, and our commitment is full and full and full. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be subscribing to this vision. Thank you.
Hallelujah! Thank you very much, Dorothy, for that. Thank you. And if there is a word that you're going to take away today, the word is a fempreneur. A female who is an entrepreneur. All right. I like to be near Mr. Asimwe when he's talking. Tell us, you left UTB, you went, now you are there, private sector. Tell us, who convinced you to come? And why? But on a serious note, please. Private Sector Foundation, please let us know.
Thank you very much. I think today is historic for the mere fact that we're beginning to see a ton of events that is snowballing into a revolution. And on behalf of the private sector in Uganda, we want to commend MTN for this initiative, and particularly Sylvia and your team, ostensibly because we have very glaring statistics. Unofficially, we are approaching the 50 million mark of the population. What is our strength is now becoming a challenge. We have a very educated workforce. We have 43 universities plus and counting. We have a very rich country, natural resources, good weather, food, and we are part of a growing region called the East African Community. So, in terms of context, we have a very good product that we can sell as a country. Human resource, natural resources. For us at private sector, what keeps us awake is to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive and not survive. Uganda has one of the highest rates of registration of new businesses. That's a big hand clap. But as you end your hand clap, we have one of the highest rates of infant mortalities of businesses. When you look closely at what is challenging these businesses, there are some basic indicators. Lack of the environment, knowledge of the business environment, business development, education, access to finance, the legal regime, the enabling environment. So PSFU looked at this very, very early and said, we need to answer this challenge of the business environment. Now, when you look closely at the demographics, the numbers, Uganda has one of the highest from a gender perspective. The biggest players in the business space are women. However, they have immediate challenges: access to finance, cost of finance, access to business opportunities, tenders, expressions of interest. If you look at the number of women that are accessing these opportunities, it's very minuscule. And as private sector foundation, we have a saying, our mantra is business growth is our business. But whom are we growing? Whom are we growing? I can't sit here as CEO and claim to be pushing for growth of businesses when the biggest portfolio of our constituency is lagging behind. So we operate on 4 pillars as PSFU. Number 1 is advocacy. Policy support to ensure we create an enabling environment for our business people, 67% of whom are women. Number 2 is business development services and support. Number 3 is skills and capacity building. But number 4 is the issue of partnerships. We realize that we are operating with as many partners as we can. And I'm so happy sitting here and looking at the different brands that are represented in this room to know that we actually have good partners who can ensure that our vision is met. Now, having said that, at PSFU, one of our critical sectors is ICT and communication. And I really associate myself with what has been said before. Now, for us to reach there, we need some enablers. What are those enablers? The enablers are those critical key interventions that will make our women get to that level. And in our previous discussion, and Sharon, thank you very much for the work you're doing in ensuring that this goes through. One of the things we saw is that local content, especially for women, is ring-fenced. And we've pushed for that position in Parliament. We've gone as far as ensuring that the cabinet, the executive, is part of that discussion. We've now gone to schools. But we've now started to teach women e-procurement, supporting them, training them, capacitating them. But somewhere in the middle, we found that we didn't have enough capacity. So what did we do? In one of the discussions, ladies and gentlemen, we worked with the World Bank, and we asked for money to ensure that we support this initiative. And that initiative came under a project called GROW, the one you see over there. GROW is an acronym which in full is Generating Opportunities for Women. It's a $216 million intervention, free. It's a grant. And we said, whom can we work with? So I want to suggest that all of you in this room are part and parcel of this initiative. We have one country, and one East African community, and one continent. Let's work together. Put the kitty that you've put together, the policies, the interventions, and the entire ecosystem. PSFU is here to support you. We will work with you to Parliament, we'll work with the executive, we'll go to the academia. We have our head of membership here. We now want to have a footprint across the whole country. We shall hold each other's hands and ensure that this thing succeeds. It will thrive and not survive. And that's why we are here. And my sister, that's the reason why we came to be part and parcel of this great initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simwe. You couldn't have been more elaborate, and we thank you very much for that. I'll go to Mr. Kalim Gogo from NSSF. You have a track record of the high innovator, and maybe that would tell us as well why you are an integral part of the Advancing Women in Entrepreneurship project. Please, in a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. I know you are sandy sometimes, but that's for another day. So I think let me start with saying that I'm here representing Patrick Ayota, the CEO of NSSF. And I'll try and say what he would have said, because he tends to repeat certain things no matter where he is. Huh? So one of the things he certainly would have said is that we are here for selfish reasons. Huh? And his selfish reason is simply that in order for us to grow our membership, we must invest in businesses. And the people who are playing most in business are women. The people who are most vulnerable in business are women as well. So if we don't support them to grow, then we are not doing our part. I think it's important for people to appreciate the state of social security in Uganda in order to appreciate this initiative. So I'll start with a simple statistic. Today, if you look at the number of people active on MTN's network, I'm not sure what the number is, but I'm sure it's above 15 million people. I'm sure it's around about there. I am also sure the ones active on mobile money probably is also a bit bigger than that. So when you look at the people who have a social security account active with NSSF today, the number is a measly 700,000. 700,000. And what's social security? Social security is really having a safety net against income disruption. That's what it is. So when you think about it, the number of people with an active social security account in Uganda is just 10% of our population. So that's how vulnerable our population is. And the best way to address that is to get them into formal employment, which is why we are in this initiative. So we are here to create jobs. That's principally what we're here to do, but make sure they're dignified jobs. And that means putting, if you look at how Uganda is structured today, most people are in formal employment. And so our mission really is to get more people into formal employment by supporting entrepreneurship. And the people who are involved most in that is women. That's why we have a special initiative for women in particular. I'll just refer to my notes, which I downloaded using MTN network. Yes. Yeah, so a couple of things I just want to refer to. Every year, 1 million people enter the labor market. Huh? 1 million. Of those, less than 10% will enter formal employment. Huh? Okay? So what we're doing essentially is working with the likes of our entrepreneurship support organizations, the likes of Outbox, to help more businesses to become more resilient. And Mr. Asimwe has highlighted the problems that people face in sustaining their businesses. What we're trying to do is help the enterprise support organizations help the entrepreneurs to do business better. The other thing, of course, is making it easy to access finance. Finance is a big issue. And one of the things about our program is that once you understand your business through our support organizations, we help you transition from a small business into a sustainable business. Through our seed funding program, $20,000 per business, and then connecting you to other financiers. So really, I think we have a direct interest in this program becoming successful, and really in the next 5 to 10 years, we want to create 5 million active members. We're just 700,000 right now. We want to move that to 5 million, and we're hoping 70% of those will be women-run businesses, really. So that's really why we are playing in this space, and I'm glad that MTN is really vested in this initiative. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you for that. Mr. Mukembo, you're next. What drove your organization to rally behind this innovation? Was it the word innovation because you are the innovation village?
I like that. Thank you very much. I think maybe to give you an example, Q4 of last year, ChatGPT launches. ChatGPT was the fastest ever startup to reach that many users. We'll not go into the very specific statistics of it. But what it did was they were not the first person to go into generative AI or these new technologies, but they were really good at how they executed. And the most important thing they've done is accelerate a whole new way of thinking about teaching and learning, doing business, optimizing your time, so on and so forth. What was especially interesting for me amidst all of that flurry of signals was the creation of entirely new jobs that did not exist until it came to play. And one interesting job is something called, and it's a fancy word called a prompt engineer. But in a real sense, it's basically a person who's really good at teaching a computer English. Prompt engineers today are able to command over $100,000, the best of the best, for a job that did not exist in November last year. There is nothing stopping a woman in this room here today being that next world-class prompt engineer, because the world is evolving in how we do business, is evolving in how we do business. You can work entirely remotely. Why we're interested in this as the Innovation Village is we're on a mission to transform Africa through innovation. We're on a mission to position Africa into the knowledge economy. We've taken two major bets on our side. One is around the creative and cultural economy through the work we're doing at Motive. But the second and most important one is to double down on the innovation economy, leveraging technology or technology enablement to move faster, farther, and longer. And so our commitment to this journey is around raising aspirations of women across the country. And now that we've raised your aspiration, to not just leave you there, how do we come in together to equip you with the insights to understand opportunity spaces like what's the implication of ChatGPT, or where are the opportunity spaces in the amount of post-harvest loss we're seeing in farm ecosystems of value chains, so on and so forth. Having picked out those opportunity spaces, where can we give you the appropriate tooling for you to be able to do something about it? Can we upskill you to be able to optimize the tools, both physical and digital, that we've given you for you to go as far as you can? Where are the opportunities to link you to the market? And that's why we're really, really excited about MTN's commitment. I think at some point they'll tell you how they're putting literal money behind where their commitment is, to challenge women entrepreneurs that if you're willing to walk this journey, there's actual opportunity for you in way of notification on the bank account, in addition to the social impact that you're generating. But it's also to realize that as we go this journey with women, there's going to be a point where for you to truly scale your innovation-driven enterprise, you're going to need a 1 OPM. other people's money. And that the more strategic OPM you require along the way, the more sophisticated the counterparty is, the more unrelated to you they are, and therefore the more strict they are about, show me the timeline, the horizon, the pathway to when I'll regain my investment. So we're very committed to empowering these women entrepreneurs to sit on the table and be able to articulate that with confidence and to have it backed by data, to have it backed by the people on the ground who've been affected by what you've been able to deliver. And amidst all of this is to also raise aspiration of the communities these women find themselves in. Let's not teach our girls to do what was conventionally the way a girl should behave or do. Let's teach our women to change the world. Let's empower women to change the world, and let's get out of their way to enable them to do exactly that. So we're very committed. We've worked with over 30,000 entrepreneurs in 4 years, and we've seen a very steady trend of women-led enterprises. They're still very small, way lower than we'd want to see, but the ones who are really, really in this, right, are making way more strides than your typical other enterprise. So we believe they have the power to transform. And to give you encouragement, out of Africa's maybe just shy of 900 million formal and informal jobs, more than 780 million are enabled by women-led enterprises, be they micro, be they small, be they startups or whatever. That means they are taking the day, they are seizing the opportunity, and we're here to be able to raise that aspiration. And with MTN's presence across Africa, let's also power them to be able to tap into the $3 trillion African continental free trade area. We're excited to be part of this journey, and we're looking forward to our Monday. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Mkembe, for that detailed presentation. Lastly, Ms. Sylvia, what drove your organization to rally behind this initiative? Why MTN Uganda?
All right. So, first of all, it's really very humbling to just see the kind of partners that we actually have on the stage with us this afternoon. And I'm really feeling very profoundly honored to just see the intersection of private sector, intersection of civil society, in terms of having, and even the public sector, in terms of having conversations about the things that are ailing us, that we need to fix as a society. There's a book I'm reading right now. It's called Rethinking Capitalism. And the main conversation that is being propagated in that book is that we need to begin to be leaders of organizations that are intent in terms of fixing the world's problems, rather than be organizations that are profiting from creating the problems that the world faces. And I think that kind of captures the reason why we are here today. This started off as a thought that was inspired by different conversations. There was a conversation that was held with Paulina from the UN Women. There was a conversation that was held in one of the banking halls of DFCU when we had gone to pay a courtesy visit to Mr. Mudiwa and his team. And when we finished the meeting, he took us downstairs to a special branch or office that they have where they only serve women entrepreneurs. It came from a conversation with some of our partners like ATC in terms of how can we change the participation of women in some of the domains that have traditionally been male-dominated. And for me, I actually think this is an issue about justice. Because when you think about it and you think about the SDGs, I mean the SDGs, the theme about, the overall theme is we should ensure that we leave no one behind. And I know a lot has been spoken about Agenda 5, right, or Goal 5, around reducing, making sure that we get gender equality. But if you think about SDG 10, that talks about reducing inequality, the fact that women are not playing in the same active spaces and the same level of participation as men are is an injustice in itself. Why? Because they represent half of the population, and therefore, every place where a decision is being made, a woman's voice should be represented. Now, the reason why we find the statistics looking the way they are, there are many reasons. Probably we as women have our own challenges in terms of our own sense of belief and what we believe that we can actually be able to do. Probably there are also issues that are pertaining in terms of the societal structure, We have a very patriarchal society, right, which really invests a lot in propagating that narrative where women are supposed to only do certain roles and men are the ones who then do certain roles. That's why I carried my own chair. If if there's no man to carry it for me, I can lift up my chair and carry it for myself, because it doesn't mean that as a woman I should only stand until a man can come and carry a chair for me. It's nice when men carry chair. So thank you for the one who came to help me. We appreciate that. But I think we need to break these barriers that our daughters, our sisters have embraced based on the societies that we come from. And therefore, when you think of it as a matter of justice, when you think about the fact that the way the SDG 10 captures reduced inequalities, it says that inequality threatens the long-term social and economic development of a people, a country. It impacts poverty reduction and destroys people's sense of fulfillment and self-worth. When you think about it from that perspective, then there's an important imperative that we all have as leaders in the rooms to begin to change the statistics that we see today. And to be able to walk that path, it's not an easy path. It's a path that requires a lot of courage, and that's why I'm celebrating everyone who's represented here today. I also recognize my colleague from the Momo side, Richard, who is also representing our MTN Momo business, where there's also now a lot of activity that is being done to drive agents and merchants who are actually women to come into the equation and participate. And the more we drive these kind of conversations, the more then we truly are able to live up to the brand promise that we have, that when we come together, when males and females come together and they are given the same opportunity, we truly can become unstoppable. And I was very, very encouraged when Sharon called up her working committee and they stood up. 80% of them were male. I saw some representation of women. So to all the women, I know there's an ATC head of, I think, supply chain or procurement is there, and some few other women I saw there. Well done for being there. But I also celebrate the men, because this narrative will not change if we don't have more he for she's. If we don't have a lot more allies in the men. So the women need to raise up their hands and be courageous. The dancing floor has been opened. Who's willing to get onto the dance floor and be the first one to dance? But even as you do that and you raise your hand, you raise your heart and say that you want to get onto the dance floor, we also need a lot more men who are on the sidelines, who are creating the pathways for the women to be able to walk on, who are being deliberate and intentional. I can tell you for free, Sandra, that there were probably many other people who are more well-suited and more well-qualified to be the MTN Uganda CEO. But because we have a group CEO, Ralph Mupita, who was intentional about, I will not stop until I get a female leader, that's the reason why I'm here today. And I think the important thing that we all have as leaders, especially those of us who are women leaders, and one of the things that we'll seek to get from this program is that for those who have had the opportunity and the chance to be able to get onto such platforms, we need to create a lot more opportunity for other female leaders. So for me, I think it's a culmination of just many conversations, many thoughts around how do we ensure we create a world where, and what is the role that we as MTN are playing in terms of creating a more equal world. It's around me thinking about the opportunity that I have been given as Sylvia, and how do I use it to be a blessing to other women or other young girls who are also looking up to me. But also begin to say that we truly cannot change, as was said by a representative from the UN Women. It's a conversation about economic empowerment. If the money is not flowing into the hands of women, this will remain a conversation where the statistics will not change. Because if they can't touch and feel, if they can't touch and feel the role that they are playing from an economic participation perspective, it will always be a conversation that is relegated to the back, because they are not part of the people who are making the influence that is required, simply because they don't have the capacity from an economic empowerment perspective. So what we seek to do as MTN, you've seen the statistics, our statistics as an organization are miserable, right? I mean, Sharon didn't actually say it, but we have, I think, less than 2% of our overall spend, and we are the largest taxpayer in this economy. I therefore believe we are one of the largest spenders. less than 2% of our total spend from a capex and opex perspective is going to women-owned, women-led businesses. I think that has to change. There is no way half of our customer base is made up of women, yet where the money is being distributed and spent, 2% is women. That is an injustice. And that's one of the things that I hope we'll be able to correct today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for articulating, Sylvia. And that brings us to the second and last question of the day. In a minute, I'll ask each of the panelists to answer this very short question. I'll start with Mr. Mdiwa. Why is there center focus on women-owned businesses in the technology sector? Why did you choose that?
Well, a very good question, but it's very simple. Follow the money. I mean, the reality is that we're living in a digital world, and the future of this world is digital. Whether you talk about ChatGPT, whether you talk about mobile phones, whether you talk about mobile money, whether you talk about even electronic banking that we do, all the things that we talk today it's all we're moving into the digital era. I mean, the fourth revolution, it's about information, it's about data, it's about technology. And therefore, we cannot, I think Sylvia spoke about no one being left behind. We cannot leave women behind into this modern world. And therefore, DFCU is committed to ensure that no one will be left behind and that we will work with women and bring them up to speed into this world. Where the money is, the women must be there. And the money is going to be in the digital world, and we need women to be active and fully participative in making sure they're part of this money story and the digital technology.
Thank you very much for that. Dorothy?
I think this is very important because at ATC we're driven to create as much local content as we can. We are driven to ensure that the engineering projects that we implement in construction of towers, in installation of solar, in all the technical work, we thrive or strive to ensure that this is done by Ugandans, by Africans in Uganda. It is important that as we drive the African agenda or the Ugandan agenda, we are in turn driving the agenda for women. And that's why this is important. It's important that as we grow the local content for engineering projects, we don't leave the women behind. We do it in tandem with growing women-led businesses, because if we do not ring fence this, I like what my colleague said, we need to ring fence this in order to grow it. What does not get measured does not get done. If we say that we're going to carve out 20% of all our engineering projects for women-led businesses, we will actually do it. So this is very important that we articulate what the goal is and then put every resource and every program behind it, whether it be training, whether it be funding, or whether it be saying we're specifying that 20% of our capital budget, 40%, will be dedicated to women. That's what we will do. So we are actually putting our agenda on growing these businesses by being very deliberate about growing this program. And that's why this is always important for us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Simwe, why is the focus on women-owned businesses in the tech sector, in as far as this project is concerned?
Thank you. I think two reasons. One of our key strategic mandates is to ensure that businesses thrive. I've given you the statistics of our demographics, the challenge that we have. For us to be able to achieve this, we have to work with everybody. Another key driver is partnerships. We must partner with everybody. Now, we've made an analysis from a both macro and microeconomic perspective. We have seen that if you grow an individual business and you integrate that business with other businesses alike, you grow a strong association. This association is the Women in Tech. Now, once you have strong business associations, you have a strong private sector. Once you have a collective, strong private sector, you have a strong economy. Why is our economy suffering? Because of these indicators. So we must associate with this program in the context that we have very good partners. We have an ecosystem that will support them. By the way, PSFU now we have a big organization called the Uganda Women Entrepreneurs Group. It has over 400,000 businesses. And we want them to partner with you. But we also want to attach you to other businesses in manufacturing, in agriculture, in professional services, in financial services, in logistics and transport. We want you, the one thing that is a common denominator is the women in tech. You cannot operate alone, and we cannot grow without you. So it's our primary and cardinal interest to partner with this so that we create this super economy, but it starts with the individual. And to the extent that MTN is one institution that's willing to partner, is the extent that we shall work together and maybe learn from you. Why don't we work together and then create a movement of other institutions that have similar agendas, and clearly we shall knock out all these challenges, and that's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simwe. Mr. Dekimi, why is the focus on women-owned businesses in the tech sector especially?
Thank you. UN Women is known as the global champion for women. And when you look at the issues that we want to address, we need to always go back to the statistics. Less than 1% of women in this country have access to public procurement opportunities. Isn't that really dismal? So if we're to boost that number, we would need to leverage on an organization that has access to women at the highest level, at the lowest level. We are a global champion that is trusted by women at all levels because we have a close association with women's enterprises, women at the grassroots level, women in all spheres of life. So bringing UN Women into this space means that we will be able to access those women who can trust this whole engagement, because we know that there's certain level of distrust that exists. Now, secondly, when you look at the percentage of women who have access to the digital economy, there's something called the global digital divide. Uganda has the worst figures from those in which the research was conducted. That's really a shame again. So the digital divide, women have access to, let's say 19% of women have access to digital space, while 27% of men. Still very low for both, but when you look at the difference, it's sad. During the global meeting that I told you about, is Commission for the Status of Women, for the first time I heard that women actually may have a SIM but not have a phone. And they would have to approach a significant other man, it might be their son, their husband, their whoever, to please borrow some time to put in their SIM and use it for whatever, access, anything for their well-being. This is not an appropriate situation. So we're talking about, and I was happy when the CEO of PSFU talked about affirmative action. For us to be able to arrive at any significant progress, we need affirmative action, and that's like ring fencing. It's about identifying what can we do to ensure that we put in place temporary special measures that will put women ahead in accessing these opportunities, in accessing digital opportunities. There's a project that has been just been implemented by UN Women called African Girls Can Code Initiative. That is putting girls up to the age of 26 or so in touch with coding, because coding gives them access to entrepreneurship, gives them access to other opportunities. Now we're supporting this core group of people in 11 countries, Uganda is one of them, to see how we can support them to access these opportunities and join the STEM cadre of people so that they can also make these changes that we're seeing in advancing and transforming society. So UN Women is here, as I said, for the long haul, and we're really proud to be associated with all the partners here on the stage. And as we can access these women, they trust us, we put this at the disposal of MTN.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adikimi, especially for the statistics. They are glaring. Thank you. Mr. Kalim Gogo, please. Why the focus on women-owned businesses in the tech sector?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start by saying that the initiative we run is called the High Innovator, and it's simple. We work with enterprise support organizations to secure a pipeline, and we help to catalyze that pipeline with seed funding, and hopefully those businesses grow. So we've run, I think, about 5 cohorts so far. And the first 2 cohorts we run, one of the glaring statistics was the participation rate of women was less than 30%. So someone came up with a brilliant idea and said, call it ring fencing, call it what you want. They said, let's have a women-focused cohort, which we called the High Innovator Women Accelerator. The brains behind that is here. Julian, please stand up. She's the program manager. So we've run a women-focused accelerator, and the statistics just flipped immediately. So right now, the program which we're running with the MasterCard Foundation, our target is to create 132,000 jobs, of which 170,000 to be women jobs. So initially, the first 2 cohorts, the women were behind to about 20% to 70%, but right now we have reached parity. We reached parity because of that specific initiative. So that alone justifies why we're doing this. Technology, I think, just to mention about technology gives you a couple of things which I think is important for business people to understand. Technology is the only thing in life that is closest to what is magic. Yeah. So it will give you things like scale, it will give you different customer experience, it will help you lower your cost. So we know that from the statistics, 1 direct job on average will create 2 indirect jobs. But what technology does for you is it can stretch that, especially where we are, the context of Uganda, where most jobs are in agriculture. With the involvement of technology, you can change that statistic to 1 to about 7, and we've seen that. So if we want to accelerate the journey of creating jobs, we need to involve more women in the tech space, because they're the ones who are actually trying to create businesses. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mkembo, please, in a minute.
Thank you. I think all these are very interesting perspectives, and they really re-emphasize why working together as partners is very key. From our perspective, I think the first point is follow the money. Late last year, early this year is when the tech sector in Nigeria overtook oil and gas in terms of share of GDP contribution. That should tell you something. Yeah. Our core business is analyzing signals and preparing industry leaders to not only understand the context, but prepare to lead what those signals are saying. And when you see MTN's continuing evolution into a technology-driven enterprise, is that they're saying, no, we want to actually shape that future that we're embracing. So when you see partners that are that committed to making these things a reality, it behooves you as an actor that's in the business of signal analysis to prepare the young people who are the future of this country to be able to tap into said opportunities. What does it mean for you to go and help the MTN team, whether it's Momo or MTN itself, to understand that there is a business gap here and I can help deliver value in this kind of way? I think they've not yet taught us or told us the level of investment that MTN is putting into 5G, or how expensive 5G is, but also what it opens up in way of opportunity. And therefore, for you to enable MTN to continue being the top taxpayer in the country, is that you need to build use cases that build traffic, build usability, justify that scale of investment. And that in so doing, what opportunities are you opening up for the young people, for the economy? So I think our main interest in this is, let's help young people understand that all the CEOs here are, and I like the one of NSSF of, we are here for selfish reasons. All the CEOs here are very keen on continuing to have a sizable impact on our economy and on the continent, and they're saying we can't do it alone. It behooves us to prepare, especially women entrepreneurs who represent the demographic shift in the country, to be able to seize that opportunity and to act on it. On our side, we have deliberate programming around this. We have deliberate funding around these kinds of opportunities, and I'm really glad that, again, our partners, or we share a partnership with MasterCard Foundation around the initiatives we're running as well. And so it's that there's already network effects there. I think the last point I'll make on this is the power of network effects in technology. You can have one enterprise that has 10 direct people it's employing, creating value for 100,000 Ugandans from the click of a button. If you want to see the example, I think the MTN Momo team is right here. They can give you an example of the power of that network effect. Let's train up our female entrepreneurs, our women entrepreneurs, to be able to see the power in that. B to B to C. We're here to encourage them to understand the dynamics of that, getting a seat on the table, articulating your value, understanding the procurement process, understanding the capital requirements behind that. Let's help elevate them into the next leaders of technology in Africa, among many other reasons. But we're excited for the partnership.
Thank you very much for that. And finally, Ms. Mlingi, why the focus on women-owned businesses in the tech sector?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, we can.
Well, it's actually very simple for us. You know, when you need to eat an elephant, you start eating from the side that you're very familiar with. So we're in the business of technology, so we cannot say that we'll fix challenges of inequality in other sectors before we go to come and fix the challenge that is in our own sector. I think there's even a Bible verse that says, remove this, is it the speck? Before you, the log in your eye before you go to remove the speck in another. So that's why. So we start off in our own domain and say how do we change the statistics there. But also, if you also look at I've had a look at this country's GDP and the way it's broken down, you realize I think the services sector is the biggest contributor to the country's GDP, and that's how wealth is created. And when you look at the breakdown of that, ICT is a key component of that. So therefore, we cannot talk about increasing the wealth of the people of this country. We can't talk about unlocking a lot more value creation if you're not talking about technology. The third thing is technology knows no gender, to be very honest, right? Where is Leah? Leah, please stand. Please come to the front, Leah. I'll embarrass you a bit. I like you. And I hope, today you're wearing heels, so you're a bit taller. Leah is probably 5 feet. Are you 5 feet? Oh, you're 6 now in heels. All right, Leah is 6 feet or so, right? So she'll stand there. When you look at Claire, you can't tell that she is an engineer who was working in Monza's team. She has climbed base stations, right, in this country. On top of mountainous regions, she was driving a pickup while her family was living here in Kampala to go and sort out network issues that we have in this country. And I hope Monza, when you were engaging with Leah or her boss was engaging with Leah, they did not say that because Leah is a woman, she has no capacity to be able to deliver as well as a man. So technology knows no gender. And if there's any better illustration to share with you, this is Leah who works in my office.
Thank you, Leah.
And she's as capable of setting up a network base station as any man can in this room. Thank you for allowing me to use you as an illustration there. Right? And so for me, when I think about that, why not technology? In addition to all the other reasons that have been shared by my fellow panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand clap for the panelists. They've done a great job. That brings us to the end of this session where they were telling us why and who and what and how. We shall break for a few minutes. It's a water break. It's an everything break. We're going to have a very short break, after which we shall regroup and come to the last part of this launch of Advancing Women Entrepreneurs. Thank you very much.
If you have been a desire, if you have been a desire, this year might be your year. See, I wanted to inspire.
from the CEO of MTN Uganda, especially on issues pertinent to how Awe is going to be unveiled and how it is going to work. At this juncture, allow me to invite Sylvia once again to please, I request that the podium, the lectern podium, please be brought back. If the lectern / podium can be brought back, it would be of great value. Thank you, young ladies. Yeah. That's all. Thank you very much. Sylvia, you're welcome.
So I'll be brief because I think much has been said, and I think the panel session actually highlighted a lot of the things that we wanted to call out and speak to. So thank you so much to the panelists and all the organizations that are represented. I have to say again that it really is very humbling to actually see the fact that we have actually been able to aggregate people who have a common understanding, a common worldview, a common mental model to solving some of the inequalities that we actually see that are represented by what we're trying to address with this initiative. So really grateful to all the partners. Thank you very much. Really grateful also to my colleagues from MTN. It's good to see our MTN ExCo also in the room. I can see our CFO, our CTIO. I can see Mr. Mtana. I can see the CEO of Momo here. Who have I missed? Lest they take it personally. And they are here from MTN. Who have I? Oh, Enid, you are supposed to have gotten for us a guest of honor. From government. Anyways, and that's Enid Edroma, who handles our corporate affairs. So to my MTN colleagues, thank you very much. To the working committee that has been working with Sharon, it's cross-functional. I think to deliver this day, it started off as a thought, it became a concept, and now the reality of it is unfolding today because of all the work that you have done. And even being able to mobilize your own individual organizations in terms of what they are lending, in terms of their capacity, is absolutely impressive. So really well done. My thoughts are few, and I'll share them with you. First of all, tomorrow I'm celebrating my 1 year in MTN. I came to MTN on the 3rd of October, and it occurred to me this weekend that tomorrow is actually my 1 year anniversary, and that was really exciting to think about all the things that we've done. Time flies when you're having a good time. Time also flies when you're also being stressed. So I think it has been more good times. And when I think about kind of the milestones that I'm really proud of today, especially managing to launch this today before I hit my 1 year anniversary tomorrow is really, really of meaning to me. So I really want to thank you all for allowing this to happen. And then also MTN is celebrating our 25 years in Uganda. This is our birthday month. So you'll be seeing a lot of activities that we'll be doing this month in terms of celebrating our 25 years. And therefore the launch of this initiative or program is part of the things that we really want to be remembered for, or to actually mark this important milestone as we turn 25. So as we come together on these significant occasions, I don't stand in front of you just as the CEO of MTN Uganda, but I also stand as someone who proudly represents a company that is deeply committed to driving diversity, inclusivity, and the empowerment of women. And if there's any testament to that, the fact that I am here as the first female CEO of this organization is a testament to the same. Our gathering today signifies the ignition of a critical movement, which is aimed at reshaping how our organizations think, engage, and support and cultivate the growth of women within our supply chain ecosystems. As has been said before, there is no way we can talk about enabling women's progress if we are not allowing them to participate in the spaces where economic value is being created, or simply said, where money is being made. I read the Bible a lot, and I think there's a scripture or a verse in the Ecclesiastes that says there was a wise man who lived in a city, and he had the solution to solve the city's issues. But because he was poor, nobody listened to him. And that's what happens. Inevitably, if I was not Sylvia, CEO of MTN, it would be very difficult for me to be able to kind of engage and aggregate people around a common vision and purpose. And we need to raise many more Sylvias, we need to raise many more Dorothys, we need to raise many more of us who are representing significant platforms that have the capacity to be able to aggregate and own the conversations that are being held here today, to ensure that those who come behind us, and when I think about those who come behind us, I think about my daughter Jasmine, who's 14 years old. She's just joined year 9 in boarding school. And I'm asking myself, are the decisions that I'm making today going to have a positive impact when she comes into that 1 million additional people who are coming into the economic earning bracket? Have I made the world easier, or have I made it a lot more difficult for her? And I think when we personalize some of the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, you then realize the opportunity that we have as leaders. I think leadership is a privilege. It's a privilege to do good. It's a privilege to create opportunities for others. It's a privilege to be able to drive a different narrative about capitalism and how profit is made. Because if we are making profit at the expense of the ones that we are representing in society, then I think that that profit is not going to be sustainable in the long term. In the broader business landscape, we have witnessed women being systematically marginalized, either by default or by design. When I referenced earlier a quick look at our annual procurement expenditure, which is approximately 854 billion shillings. That's what Sharon stand there, see how 854 billion shillings looks like, right? She's the lady who manages all that. Please give her a clap, and you can approach her after this and tell her what business that you're in so that you engage in that 854 billion. So when you look at that, it shows an unsettling imbalance in terms of how the wealth or the money is being distributed, with female-owned businesses at 8% and women in technology, which forms almost 80% of our spend, at a paltry, I won't even say the point what it is, let me just say it's below 1%. And this is driven by historical factors and other complex reasons. And we can always make excuses for everything, but this inequitable situation most likely mirrors similar patterns across various sectors in Uganda. So addressing this disparity is no longer a matter of choice, it is an urgent necessity. Neglecting the brilliance, resourcefulness, and untapped potential of half of our world's population, otherwise called women, not only stifles innovation, but also hinders societal progress. Cherry Blair said that when women have access to the same opportunities as men, they can unlock immense potential for themselves and their communities. So we must proactively be involved in conversations that are shaping the role that women are playing in our society, as their inadequate representation constrains our country's development, leaving vital intellect and creative potential underutilized, which is essential for enhancing productivity. So to be able to drive true progress, I think we are all in agreement based on the conversations that we've had here today that these conversations must be inclusive, these conversations must reflect the diversity of the society that we have, and that these conversations must be intentional and deliberate, because you can have the agendas defined, but at the end of the day, for the statistics to change, it requires our intentional involvement in driving that change. So today, the Advancing Women Entrepreneur program that we launched today transcends being a mere initiative. It stands as a solemn pledge by all of us who are here to dismantle barriers and equip women with the tools that they need to thrive in the business world. As MTN, we can create the opportunity. So there's work that needs to be done, even in terms of how we source, how we procure. There must be policy changes that are made in terms of how do we deliberately ensure that we are inviting a lot more women to come and procure, how do we make our procurement decisions. But once we bring the women on board, to ensure that that statistics that Stephen spoke about of having high business mortality, it does not then become part of the narrative that you're building, it requires the role of partners. These women, first of all, we need to work with them to make sure that we'll offer them the opportunities, but where do they start working? Where do they start getting mentored? Where do they start getting the opportunity to reflect what it is that they can? And that's why we have the partners we have. They need funding, right? Many of them, they have the dream, they have the passion, they have the desire. They don't have anybody who believes in them. When they walk into a bank, they're asked, show us what is the amount of revenue you've been able to generate in the last 3 years. We know all those conversations. Or show us what is your capacity or what is the level of equity that you have invested. If we start off from there, while those are important questions, we may not be able to move very fast. And that's probably why we were given the statistic that at the current trajectory we are going with, it's going to take us 300 years. So we need financing partners, banking partners who think differently and who are willing to be able to look at this cohort of women that we are deliberately looking at and investing in and see what are the outcomes we're able to drive. And it was good and great to hear what NSSF shared based on the Women Accelerator program that they have and the results that they have been able to see. So can we create many more such initiatives? We already hear PSFU have millions of dollars that they're willing to invest, but how do we make sure that even as we create these women businesses, they have the capacity to be able to consume, how they have the capacity to be able to turn that into a profit? And that's why then the participation of all the partners then becomes critical. We must provide mentorship, we must provide training, we must provide resources, financial support to be able to transform these dreams into reality. I think our goals are ambitious. Moving from below 1% as MTN to the 20% that Sharon is referring to will require a massive, massive shift. It will require us to be very aggressive around some of the decisions that we make as a business. But I think the impact that they will have on unlocking economic growth, where families and communities reap the rewards of women entrepreneur success, is limitless in terms of the potential. So I urge each and every one of us, as we sit here, to ask yourself, what is the role that you're going to play? I think for MTN, what we are looking here to be is to be an igniter of what the possibilities could be. We don't want just the women that we will raise from this platform to only work for MTN. We want, when PSFU is thinking about, I want an IT company to come and pull cable, I want to connect businesses. UN Women is thinking about their headquarters or how they connect their staff. HEC, when you're thinking about where you're getting the guys who are putting up your base stations, right? DFCU, there is no reason why you should be going to recruit any other suppliers outside the cohort of women that we have actually built together. And the same applies to all the other organizations that are represented here today. So that's why it's critical to call out that this initiative is not exclusive only to MTN. It is a collective effort to drive positive change, and that is why the partnerships that have been called out here and all the partners who are represented are critical. And I hope we'll be able to bring a lot more partners in this journey, because I think when we do that together, we can actually be able to break down the barriers that have hindered women for far too long and create a world where every woman's potential is unlocked, businesses thrive, and societal good becomes a reality. So as we take this step towards change, I'll call out and say that change is not comfortable. The easier thing is to default back into the way we have been doing business. I know it's easy to come into events such as this and we make commitments, but the realization of those commitments is where the hard work is. And some of those conversations, I'll tell you, will not be comfortable. When you go back into your own boards, into your own organizations, and you're seeking to propagate this, it will require you to make active changes. It will require you to say that we know we have 3-4 male-owned businesses that are very strong and that have been delivering for us, but we are willing to take a risk with 1-2 women-owned, women-led businesses who probably have not had the experience, and that part of their learning process is our investment in this project in terms of making it a success. That requires courage. It requires belief. But if we don't get started at that level, these statistics will never change. And we'll come back here 12 months from now and we'll be asking ourselves why these things have not changed. And therefore, that's why this working committee that has started this work is not going to be disbanded today. Today is just the launch. We now have to make sure that we agree what are the success criteria, how do we make sure that we are actively tracking whether we are progressing or we are moving behind. I think it's Dorothy who said if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get done. So we need to agree what are those success criteria, how does success look like 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and when we meet, what will we be celebrating? And will there be real women who will be standing in front of us who are telling this story? You know, when you came in here, I don't know if you came through the lower gate or you came from the upper side and walked through the canteen. I don't know if the girl who did the canteen, is she here, Sharon? Did she make it? Amanda, is she here? I was really hoping that she could be here because that was also a deliberate decision that we made. We wanted to redo our canteen earlier on this year, and when we went through the evaluation of all the contractors that we had a lot of well-abled, well-financed, strong, experienced, credentialed contractors that we could work with, but none of them are women. And we got this girl, I wish you could see her, she's Leah's size, she's called Amanda. Even when she came, when I looked at her, I was like, girl, will you be able to deliver it? Because we also needed the project to be delivered in about 4 weeks to be able to meet the turnaround that we had. But the beautiful thing I think about women is that when they're given the platform and the opportunity, they go all out. And she delivered a fantastic job, much more than we could ever have envisioned. And I think I'm imploring all our partner organizations that are represented here. Those are the deliberate and intentional conversations that you need to have if we are going to drive the change that we see. So today is the launch. I'll ask Sharon if you could just come and just say what then are the next steps post today, because we'll celebrate, we'll unveil, we'll all pat ourselves in the back, and we need to because this is a significant moment. But what happens when we go from here?
Thank you, Sylvia. So our next steps, if so first off, we're going to share an expression of interest. This is going to go out to the public on all media platforms, on our social media platforms, and on our website. This is how it's going to look like. It's brief, it's giving you a bit more detail on what the project is about, who are we looking for, and what are those categories that we are looking for. Maybe if I could just go back a bit. If you look there, the categories are mainly tech-related categories. Based on what the CEO has shared, this is where the big bucks are, if I could say. So you'll find that we're concentrating more on the tech-related categories, IT, network, we're looking for engineers, and all you need to do is just to share a bit more simple information. Your company details, what you do, who are you, do you have a bank account, just a few more details. Are you NSSF registered? If not, how can we help you get registered, amongst other items. So we'll share an expression of interest. This will allow the participants and the interested candidates to visit our website. For you to apply, you have to visit our website at www.mtn.co.ug/awe. I'll repeat that, www.mtn.co.ug/awe. And then you'll be able to get the application form that will allow you to share all information that is there. So that is how the adverts will look like. This will be on TV, on radio, amongst other platforms. But once you're done with the application, I will not go into this information so much because the different executives from the organizations have shared more insight of what you should expect as an applicant. Be prepared. We're going to help you. We're going to give you more access to different solutions We're going to build your capacity. There's business skills development. There are going to be boot camps for you to participate in. But ultimately, it's for you to get ready for the business that MTN is going to share with you. And as the CEO has shared, I'll not go so much into it. We have talked about the capacity that is available for you. We want to grow a database to at least a minimum of 20% by 2025. But not only grow that database, we're deliberately putting up an amount. That is $4 million that we should be able to make sure that from our side in procurement, it is just a start. But we have to track it in our policies and make sure that these businesses are getting this money and are being able to grow for a sustainable future. And lastly, at least a minimum of 250 companies should be coming through each cohort. We will be running 3 cohorts. This is our first cohort, but the cohorts are going to run up to 2025. So in summary, this is what you should expect from advancing women entrepreneurs. Thank you.
So I actually think that amount of $4 million is very little. Andrew, our CFO, by 2025, it should be 5 times that, Andrew. Do you agree? Eh? Andrew is a he for she, so he has said yes. I hope you had this very loud yes. That $4 million, I think, is too little for the amount of spend that we have. But let's start. Right? And I think the critical thing is to make sure that as we bring these women businesses and capacitate them so that they are successful, once they are successful, then it creates, success breeds more success. And I think the other thing that I also want to call out, which is also critical, Sharon, that maybe we didn't, I don't know if we captured it, maybe we captured it earlier, is that the initial cohort that we raise must also mentor other women based on the opportunities that they have been given, so that as we are raising one, they are also raising another. And that's how then you end up creating that network effect and the multiplier effect that was spoken about here. So it doesn't just become that we have a few successful superstars that we have raised, but the initial cohort that we raise then raises other women, so that then we end up creating a larger ecosystem of women who are successful, and a statistic that I think we can all be proud of. So thank you. May this initiative bring success and empowerment to countless women entrepreneurs here in Uganda. Together, we are empowering our women. Together, we are truly going to become unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very, very, very much, Sylvia. Before you go too far, I'm going to request for the lectern, or what is called the podium, to be removed. And now, it gives me great pleasure to announce the official launch of this initiative, Advancing Women Entrepreneurs, AWE, or AWE. Sylvia, I'm going to request your presence. There's going to be a video played there, but for significance, and I think a photo op, you are required to launch the initiative. Yes.
I think I'd like to ask the rest of the partners to come up on stage. This is not just my initiative. So to all my colleagues who are here on the panel with me, please, if you may come up. JP, where are you? Or Barbara, what exactly do you want us to do?
There's a video going to be played.
Okay. So we watch the video?
Yes.
Okay, and then we say?
And then after that, you will take a photograph, a significant photograph with all the partners.
All right. Oh, there's no fireworks. All right, let's watch the video. All right.
A hand clap for that. Thank you very much, media team. I would like to request all the partners to please come for a photo session right there. It's an important photo.
What do you ache for?
At this juncture, I would like to thank all our journalists present, our media houses, our social media bloggers, our social media teams. Thank you very much for advancing this initiative and staying true to the cause. This photo is legendary. It will go down in the books. And after the photo session, I will request the executives to take their seats at the stage once again for our last Q&A session. That is the last part. That's the last part. I'll invite all the partners to take their seats. Take your seats up here for a Q&A session. To everyone in the audience, this is the time. This is the time to ask the questions. We invite everyone else in the audience to take this chance to ask. And how it will work is, if you do have a question, you will raise your hand, you will stand up and introduce yourself and who the question is directed to. We are taking questions now. As we're introduced, there are 7 partners. 7 partners in the initiative of advancing women entrepreneurs, especially in the tech space. All questions right now, if you do have a question, please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. The media houses should take advantage of this. Anyone with a question? Are you sure? Really? Anyone? Yes, there is a question at the back there. Please introduce yourself. Please take a microphone to her and tell us who the question is directed to. Thank you. Please come forward. It would be nice to see the face. You just never know.
Hello, my name.
Beg your pardon? You see? Just come. You see there's another microphone here in my hand. All right.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Ruth. I work with Sanyo FM and the Good Morning Africa podcast. So my question goes to Arthur. You talked about after and preparing women-led businesses in tech. We have been going through a funding winter, and women businesses were already, or startups to be precise, were already getting like a minuscule amount. And in the funding winter, we've seen that funding go to the pits. So in this partnership, how do you better prepare women for funding hardships? Because this is part of it, yeah? And we're seeing women in tech, which we know already, like, to be a woman is hard. To be a woman in tech is like double the issues, yeah? So how do you better prepare them for opportunities, not just being offered within the country, but for the African continental free trade area? Because that's the forecast, yeah? $430 billion.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very articulate. Thank you. From Sanyo FM. Arthur?
Thank you. So I like that. She's referring to the funding winter.
Yes.
Money drying up in venture capital going into startups in particular. That's unfortunately driven a lot beyond us It's the changing interest rate environment around the world, etc., that's having that kind of an effect. But what does it mean for us back home? Actually, we've been seeing a lot more deal volume this year and last year than we're seeing in the years before. So it's that, yes, there is a funding winter everywhere else, but I think Africa hasn't yet caught on to that, which is a good thing for our entrepreneurs. But it will come as this whittles down. And we're not seeing that money has gone away. There's actually more limited partners coming into venture capital today than there ever has been. We're part of a program last year where there were 700 new LPs trying to get into venture capital across the world. So I don't believe that money has run out or is running out. I think it's a function of finding who the right kind of LP or limited partner you'd want, general partner or fund that you'd want to align with to unlock that capital. But no matter what the mechanics are, it boils down to a couple of key things. No matter how early you are or how, what background you come from or whatever, there's a few things investors can't argue with. One is notifications on the bank account. Let's make sure that whatever enterprise you're working on is consistently growing in revenue, in the quality of that revenue, in how much of that revenue you're retaining. Two is the quality of relationships you have. Very few people can argue with the quality of relationship that an MTN would represent, for example. So leverage that opportunity. The third piece is, in the very early stages of building your business, the number one thing investors are paying attention to isn't even the product. It's actually the team behind it, your capacity to execute, and the speed at which you're doing it, right? So what we're focusing on with this initiative is, let's prepare the women entrepreneurs, but also the executive teams that they rely on and the teams that those executives rely on. So you'll see a lot of support around upskilling, reskilling. You'll see support around tooling. You'll see support around sophisticating communication and how you actually present and articulate what it is you're working on and what value that's delivering. Can you quantify that value? So on and so forth. So this program is very, very specific on paying attention to what makes a good business in a conventional sense before we even look at it in a tech sense, but understanding that don't lose the eye in terms of how fast you're growing your adoption and the quality of adoption of what you're delivering. And then don't lose the eye on how much value you're capturing in that process and how well you're able to articulate the growth story behind it. We're very excited about the quality of partnerships here today because they're all enterprise players and they will come in a big way to build credibility for the women involved in this initiative. We encourage you to apply. We'll walk the journey with you to get you to the point where the funding winter doesn't affect you in any way. Karibu.
Thank you very much.
Allow me to add something. And I like... Oh, can I borrow your mic? I like that statement that he has made towards the end about when you look at the people who are represented on this panel, I don't think there's a funding winter. NSSF, is there a funding winter on your side? DFCU, is there a funding winter on your side? PSFU, is there a funding winter on your side? So you're probably actually keeping millions in the bank that you don't know how to use just because you have not received good ideas, right? Am I right? Am I right? I'm wrong. Yes, you're serious. So I don't think the conversation we're having today is being ailed by a funding issue. I think it's being ailed or more by what you shared earlier. What business are you able to put together? What is the capacity of that business? What is the team behind that business? Because that is what will ultimately determine, are you going to be a success or are you going to fall into that bracket of survive and die that Stephen spoke to earlier?
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Please.
I'd like to add very quickly to say that looking, without going into any scientific permutations, the issue is to build the self-confidence of women. When you build their self-confidence, you have a safety net, and that is the cohort of women that would be put together by this group here. And then you ensure they have access to training, to mentorship, as well as opportunities for growth. You have the right calculations, and they're able to do it. And one final thing is the fact that when you look at the brands of all those represented in this partnership, and they approach investors to support the growth of women entrepreneurs in Uganda with the opportunities and with the trajectory that we're seeing, you have a very important mechanism there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Dorothy?
I'd like to add that this initiative is not just about funding. I think we always think about putting money in a business. Advancing women entrepreneurs is upskilling Uganda's women. It's conducting training on how to manage financing. It's conducting training on health and safety. It's conducting training on how do you build company policies within your enterprise that you set up. It's conducting training on how to scale, how to grow, how to create a profile, how do you pitch for business. So I think we need to look beyond the funding, whether there's a winter or a summer or whatever we may choose to call it. I think it's beyond the funding need, and it's everything. It's a cocktail of support that a Ugandan women-led business would require to thrive. And this partnership brings that together.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. Yes, Mr. Mdiwa, do you have a word as well?
Yeah, I could just add an extra comment that the one thing that's also coming with this package is an actual market. You're starting with an LPO, and I think that's an important point, not just from MTN, but from all the partners here. So when you get into this circle, you already have an LPO. And I can assure you, if you come and say, I've got a contract from MTN, from PSFU, from ATC, from NSSF, any bank will give you money. So I think this is an important process that I think a lot of us are missing, that yes, there's funding, there's training, but most importantly, you're starting with an LPO. Yeah. And it takes, I'm sure those of you who have gone up for RFPs know how hard it is to get that LPO. So you're starting from a very strong footing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mudia. There is a question, and it's directed to Alex. It says, having gone through the process with the high innovator, how did you approach the issue of Gen Z? They seem to feel excluded from all of these initiatives. Do you have a success story? Maybe to share that so that the Gen Zs can be convinced that advancing women entrepreneurs is going to include them and their needs.
Okay, thank you very much. I will democratically answer this question. So I'm going to ask Zulu to chip in. Richard Zulu is our partner there. I'm going to ask him to say a few words, if you don't mind. But the question is, the Gen Zs feel left out in this process. How have we adapted High Innovator to help the Gen Zs? Before you answer that, I just want to say that if you look at the network we have built with the enterprise support organizations, the likes of which we have here, Innovation Village and Outbox, if you look at them critically, they are the Gen Z generation. And the communities they built around them are Gen Z. So we know that we are not good at enterprise development as NSSF. So the simple answer is that we deliberately partnered with the ESOs to address that issue. But maybe Zulu, you can go a bit more specific in terms of curating for younger people, in terms of the design of the program.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon to you all. Part of why we work with the entrepreneur support organizations is also reach. Some of our best partners, for instance, include Uganda Christian University, Mbale Innovation Hub. Mbale is, in our portfolio, Mbale is the second largest Eastern Uganda is the second largest contributor to the portfolio of High Innovator of close to 300 businesses. And for us, that demonstrates how we try to reach out to as many young people as possible. Secondly, we are now simplifying High Innovator a lot more. We largely develop our interventions with young people. We have a youth sounding board that reviews everything that we try to put out there with regards to the involvement of young people. And now we are going to introduce a component that focuses on the transition of informal businesses to formal businesses, to micro and small, largely using an approach that focuses on strengthening what we call common user facilities in those areas where young people can share processing infrastructure and shared infrastructure. So we're largely always trying to reach out to as many young people as possible. Yeah.
If I may add something, I think I'd seen Jita, Albert. Maybe you can talk about also what you're doing with the hackathon and how we are targeting the young people from the Momo side. Either you or Richard, because I know that's also significant.
Thank you very much. So we are currently, driving the initiative of the hackathon. We did it last year as well, and working closely with the Outbox again. So, and of course, our target has really been, trying to promote, the female, gender. And I think even in last year's competition that we had, the condition was in each of the groups that competed, there had to be a lady. That was very deliberate from us to ensure that we encourage more of the, and these are actually, when you look at the competitors, they are born of 97 and, 26, 25, 24. These are people who have just finished university that are actually very brilliant, very fantastic ideas. And we believe that by the end of September, by the mid of October, because it's winding up by the 27th of October, we anticipate to come up with 3 brilliant groups that we're going to reward. But we're not just stopping at that. We're also going ahead to nurture these groups in terms of what next, after this competition. So yes, I think the hackathon is another big initiative that we're driving around as Momo to encourage the female groups, the young. Those who have just finished school to be able to participate. But I would like, my colleague from Outbox to just say a little bit of how far have we gone so far in terms of this season with the hackathon.
So this man, you, now, okay.
Yeah, that's what they call an innovation hub. You sit in the center and bring together all these things so that the entrepreneurs can move. But last week we had our top 12 event where we selected 12 interesting groups of young people out of 20. So they are spending the next 2 weeks receiving mentorship to build their products further. And then thereafter we shall select the 3 that will go into a support phase to help them later figure out what they're building, what's the business case behind that, and how then could they integrate with MTN Momo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zulu. I respect you, sir. There's another question here. Please don't tire. It's just one more here. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Josephine Gugi. I'm the CEO and co-founder Pavicon Group. Pavicon it was formed in Kenya, but we are in Uganda, Ethiopia, Malawi, and Sudan. Allow me to talk about Sylvia just for a minute. I'm very proud to stand here, and having coming from Kenya, I can proudly say that I'm here because of that woman seated there. It's if I decide to say how I got into MTN, you saw the way Sylvia carried her chair there. She didn't find a seat to sit, but she decided to carry her seat and join the panel. That is exactly what I did. One day I woke up, I took a flight and came to Uganda. When I came, the guys really wanted to know who I'm coming to see. by that time, I was working in Uganda for Ubuntu. They work for it's a tower core that handles MTN towers. So when I was at the gate, the watchman really grilled me, and she told me, if you don't know who you came to see, then I cannot allow you in. So the best thing that I could do is calling Alex. Alex was working with Ubuntu, now he's working with ATC Uganda. So I called him and I asked him, I'm at MTN and I really want to get in and just see someone in projects. He gave me a name of a guy who works in project. He's called Paul Balala. So when I went to the reception, I introduced myself. I told them I'm from Kenya. That time Sylvia had not joined MTN. So they were very excited and they were telling me that we are waiting for our girl Sylvia to join. So at least that one gave me a warm welcome. So when Paul was called, he was told that there is a Kenyan lady here looking for you. And then Paul was a bit hesitant, but finally he told the receptionist, just bring her to my office. When I went there, he was so shocked. He could not believe that I just came to see someone I don't know. But that is what Sylvia taught us in Kenya. She taught us that the doors, you don't have to find open doors. You knock the doors and they are open for you. Then when you walk into the room and you cannot find your space, you create that space and you come with your chair and sit in that conversation. So for all the women in this room, just know it's possible to even get business from strangers. So that time I was able to meet Yasin, and I met David Mukasa. He works with Sharon. Sharon was not there. She was called, but I think she was in a meeting. So when I went to David, he gave me the procedure of how to get pre-qualified with MTN. It's not an easy task. You have to get your documents right, and you have to know what you want. You cannot just come and say, I just want to work for you. You have to show your capabilities. And I'm here to encourage every woman. I'm not an engineer, by the way. I'm an accountant by profession, but I'm running an engineering company. So when they ran the tender, I think I performed very well. And so if you're here and you want to be mentored, I'm here. You can have my contact. Yeah. So Sylvia used to tell us, take every advantage of every dot. You don't know where it will lead you to. So for this program that MTN has launched, take advantage of it. I'm standing here because Safaricom, through Sylvia, they launched Women in Business. And they got all the funders to come and support us, other partners, and it's a big success for us. And just to mention again, I'm working with ATC Uganda, and my question will go to Dorothy. I got in ATC through MTN. When I was having a conversation that day with Yasin, he was like, have you tried working with ATC? Then I told him, I've tried, but I've not gotten a link. So he gave me a number to call the head of projects and another lady who is in sales. That time it was Corona time. So when I was trying to call, everyone was saying I'm working from home. But I didn't give up. I kept calling them. Even if they don't pick, I send a message. So thank you, Dorothy, for having us in ATC, and we really appreciate. My question is, currently we are just doing solar for ATC, and I would really want to know if you have any plans to have women do the base stations. We will be very glad to support you in that scope, and also for the fiber. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sharon. You have been very supportive to us. Thank you, Ali Monza, for even finding your time to listen to me when I call for conversations. And thank you, Sylvia. You are a great woman.
Wow. That was a wonderful testimony. That was a wonderful testimony. Thank you very much. Women are making moves.
Sorry, Sandra. She asked me a
and maybe we should respond. Okay, so first of all, Josephine, that's your name, right?
You know, actually, I didn't know Josephine. I met her. I think we were in a meeting with Andrew about 3 months ago. We were having a meeting with NSSF, with the chairman. And as we walked out of Serena from the lunch meeting, she walked up to us. I have never seen you in my entire life, or I can't remember seeing you. And she stopped and said that I am a supplier of MTN. I asked her, what do you supply? She said, I supply fiber. And when she said the name of her company, okay, me, I don't know the companies. Andrew's the one who knows them. So Andrew said, oh, you're Pavicon. And he said she's one of our big fiber fiber installers. I think the reason why I say that is because, you know, as leaders, I'm actually calling out to my fellow leaders on this panel. You never know what you're creating for others. I cannot remember seeing Josephine in the crowd of the women, because we did a similar program where in my previous company that she has called out, and we raised many companies. I probably never interacted with you many times, but you can see now the woman that she has become. And I like the fact that you said you came here before I came here, lest people think that I brought you myself. But I think to the leaders who are here on the panel, just to see the opportunities that we can create and how many more Pavicons we can, but also to the women who are out there in the audience. I mean, the courage to walk up to the gate when you say, I'm just going to MTN because I know MTN is a telco provider, you don't know anybody. That is the level of courage that we need in women, right? To pick up your phone, to call, you know, sometimes you're blessed to meet the Alimonzas, the Asins, the Sharons who are willing to give you an audience, but sometimes it will also be, you have to keep at it. And I think also the other thing that I have to tell my fellow women is that please don't think that this program gives you an entitlement, right? Because, you know, sometimes people think that because we have said we are carving out a certain component of our spend to go to women, then you think there is a sense of entitlement and therefore you don't have to work as hard, you don't have to be technically proficient, you don't have to deliver on the service. I can tell you without shadow of a doubt, and I will stand as I say this, if you don't come and deliver as a woman, we will fire you as fast as we would fire a man. All we are creating is an opportunity for you. But if you come and you don't show up and deliver on the work that is expected of you, I can tell you we will treat you the same way as we would treat any other company. So for me, it is critical, especially on the women who will be in the first cohort. If you fail, you will fail all the other possible candidates who would have come through the system. So I think the burden of responsibility is even higher on you, because you can see all these leaders are taking a bet on you. I request that we show up and we show excellently well, because then if we can talk to some of the successful statistics as our NSSF colleagues have shared in terms of what they were able to achieve in the accelerator program, and we said we've achieved that with this program that we're doing for advanced women entrepreneurs, then it means it will unlock a lot more potential for all the women who come to participate in this space. Is that clear, my fellow women?
Yes, it is.
Is it clear?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Dorothy, please answer the question.
It's really nice to see you, Josephine. I like to hear the success stories. So to everybody out there, Josephine testifies that we've already started this journey. And just to be very specific, yes, we've carved out a lot of work for this program, including solar, the laying of solar for our sites across the country. It also includes the laying of fiber to our towers. It also includes construction of base stations. It's going to be big for us now and even into next year. We also have what we call co-location work, where we add more customers to our towers. We have made this, as part of our discussions with Sharon that's leading this program, ATC has been very specific on the work that we are committing to advancing women entrepreneurs. And it includes a whole host of things, but to make a very short list, that would be the 4 projects that we're dedicating to this as a start. So you are more than welcome, Josephine, to take part and to increase the scope of work that you're already doing with ATC.
So
Thank you.
Pavicon is still in business, huh? Work. All right, I would just allow us to take we have attendees online, and there are questions that are coming from the online attendees. If the question can be read and directed, I will ask to be directed here.
Okay. Thank you, Sandra. We have been streaming this event live on YouTube and X, and we have two questions. One is directed to UN Women, and the other is directed to MTN. I'll begin with the one for UN Women. The question is from Susan. She says, social attitudes tend to take a long time to change. Will 5 years be sufficient for the type of change that this program intends to create?
Is the question directed to anyone in particular?
Yes, to UN Women.
Ah, okay. Ms. Adekime.
Okay, so one of the main strategies that UN Women uses to bring about transformation at community level and at all levels is social norms change. We do understand, and I was happy when Sylvia mentioned that, one of the biggest problems in Africa is patriarchy. In fact, globally, it's about patriarchy, it's about those stubborn norms and socially constructed ideas and thoughts that impede the progress of women and impede their access to these kind of opportunities. And when you have men who are, I would call them liberated, like those who are sitting on this stage, who understand the importance of advancing the rights of women, have put that to use in their work and continue to back this up, then you have a recipe for success. So yes, social norms transformation take a long time, and that's why a lot of donors in the development context do not want to invest. However, this is one of the pillars that UN Women uses to transform communities. We have to ensure that social norm transformation is in our women's economic empowerment work, is our ending violence work, it's in humanitarian action, it's in governance. Because unless you bring about that shift in the thinking of actors, of decision makers, it will be very difficult. But one thing we'd use, one very important tool, is evidence. Evidence in terms of statistics. What is not counted will not count. So unless we are able to bring out those statistics and use evidence to bring about that shift, it will take time. But that change will come. And yes, who knows, 5 years might be too short. 10 years, they say sometimes 10 years to shift some very stubborn patriarchal norms. Imagine, for example, child marriage in Uganda. That is a very stubborn issue. Or you want to talk about female genital mutilation in the northern part of Uganda. That is very, very stubborn and needs a concerted effort of very serious actors like you have around here to bring about that shift. Yes, these things take time, but we need to be focused and we need to know what we want. We need to generate that evidence and then press those levers of change. Change will happen ultimately.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adekime. I would like to take the last question.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm not so sure whether this gentleman is liberated, but we have a Tom Muwaga online, and he says to MTN, he's asking how much money is involved.
The money for putting together today, the money that will be put in, the success criteria. There's a lot of money there are lots of pools of money that are currently being conversed about. But I think the most important one is how much will we create in terms of value when we say that this program has been successful. So as soon as I left the stage, I went to talk to the CFO and Sharon and ask, what is that $4 million that we're saying by 2025? That's small. And they have clarified that we want to onboard Sharon by the end of this year. Is it 40 businesses? If I remember this, was it 40 or 20? by the end of this year, in the next 3 months? Okay, I can't hear. Maybe just come and give the... All right, that's the number I was looking for. So the first cohort, we are targeting 250 businesses, right? The first cohort, that $4 million that she was talking about, is just for the first cohort. And the first cohort is going to come for the first expression of interest that we will have. So when you think about that over 3-4 years, and you're thinking about the multiplier effect that will come. I'm sure when Pavicon started, if I use you as an illustration, you probably got one small LPO, but from that LPO you were able to generate many more LPOs, and now you're even doing business now with ATC, which has therefore increased the value of spend. So I look at that as just a seed, if I may call it, seed investment or seed outcome of the initial cohort group that we will have, but I see us creating a 10x impact on that initial cohort by the time we're getting to 2025 in terms of the value that will have been created. In terms of funding, you have heard from all our different partners the amount of monies that they have put in from their own different organizations. So I don't think we have a funding issue. It's more about how do we leverage that funding to be able to create value that will build true businesses that can stand on their own as significant businesses on this landscape that are generating value, but also creating jobs and creating economic impact in the spaces that they're allowed to play in.
Thank you very much. JP, thank you very much for coordinating that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session, to the end of the launch. I thank you very much, very much for attending this launch. If you're to take anything out of here today, is just tell a cousin, a relative, a mother, a sister, that things are happening in the tech world. So whoever can invest in a business in the tech world, please go on. Pavicon is a clear testimony to that. At this juncture, I would like to thank our panelists for being here with us and sharing your wisdom. It's all systems go right now. All eyes are there. But I'm sure with time, Sharon is going to continue to spread the message, and we are going to meet the objective of AWE. Once again, I thank you very much.
Could I make a suggestion? Can we meet in, Sharon and your working team, we meet in how many months to check progress? 6 months? 6 months. So in 6 months, we should have businesses that are already engaged with all of us from the different organizations that are represented, that we can speak to, that can stand in front and tell us their story. So do we agree we check in 6 months? Okay, good. Thanks.
All right. Okay. See you in 6 months. I mean the working team. I would like to finally invite the panelists to light refreshments just before you go, and the rest will be ushered to the refreshments. Thank you. My name is Sandra, and have a good evening.